basics of good delivery. Page 102. It starts out, the content of your speech is what you say, delivery is how you say it. Delivery is the overall who that you want to present and not the what you say. Delivery is more than just the volume, rate, and pitch of your voice and the way you enunciate words. It includes your appearance, posture, body movement, hand gestures, eye contact, and facial expressions. In other words, delivery is all this that you express when you speak, okay? This right here is just as important, if not more important, than what comes out of your mouth, okay? A good example is when you are having an issue with your significant other and they ask you what's wrong and you say, nothing, nothing's wrong, okay? Does that sound like there's nothing wrong? No, okay? So it says, it's not what you say, but how you say it merits serious reflection, especially in light of current research. Studies have shown that nonverbal communication has a greater impact than verbal communication when we receive and interpret messages. One such study asserts that only 7% of your emotional response to another person is determined by the verbal component of what is said, whereas 93% of your response is shaped by the speaker's nonverbal behavior. Who can agree with that? Yeah. We won't go there, we're on video. The most thoroughly researched and well-organized speech will have little impact on the audience if the speaker's delivery lacks the conversational quality, okay? A desire to communicate and a speaker naturalness. As we always say, you can be the smartest person in the room and have the most elaborate speech, but if you don't add all of this into it, then you lose everybody, okay? I think that's why politics are so boring, okay? Because there's not a lot of emotional to it. All right, enlarge conversational quality. As Jared was going to teach us tonight about that and decided not to. Jumping down, it says, but for public speaking purposes, the most effective speaking style is an enlarged conversational quality. An enlarged conversational quality of speaking means talking with the same naturalness and quality of voice you would use when speaking with another person. Okay, so hopefully you feel that I'm speaking to you right now as I would speak to you if I was sitting down, but just on a larger scale. Okay? To do this, you increase the volume of your conversational tone of voice so that people in the back of the room can hear you, and you expand your gestures and movements a bit so all the audience can see them. The primary goal of using enlarged conversational quality is that your audience will get the feeling that you are talking to them in a natural fashion, and not talking at them with calculated and rehearsed gestures. Okay, so it's very important for you to have that naturalness and just like we're friends, just on a larger scale. Okay. The next one, desire to communicate. The desire to communicate is the feeling the audience senses when a speaker desires to communicate with them. She wants to be there and not somewhere else. The speaker is not forced to talk. She wants to talk, okay? Just like I always tell you, I'm not forced to be a teacher. I like being a teacher, okay, Mark? You are not forced to do what you do, but you like to do what you do. Jackie, same thing. You're not forced to be a hairstylist. You have decided, okay? With this desire to communicate, the speaker also communicates an awareness of and a sensitivity to her audience. The speaker's eyes are focused on the audience, not on her notes. Okay? She is aware of the audience's feedback and is sensitive to their responses. They get the sense that she sees them, feels them, and is with them in body and spirit. Okay? How many times have you seen somebody talk and you're in the audience and you feel like they're talking to you? Or you go to a concert and you feel like they're singing to you, only you. That's how you want to make your audience feel. Okay? Speaker naturalness. If you can't be yourself, who can you be, right? A common and disturbing problem that prevents us from living a free and healthy life is our inclination to try and act, think, and be like someone else, awkward attempts to be someone we're not. I think by this point you've kind of figured out your speaking style and what you're comfortable with, and you will see once we play back the videos what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. But everybody kind of adopts their own style, and I would encourage you to keep trying to do that, okay? On page 104, as you speak to your audience, let them see the real you. Don't hide behind the voice of someone else. Don't disguise the rhythms of your gestures, and don't conceal your body's true dance. The audience has you for only a few minutes of their lives. Let them hear the real you, not someone else. If you can't be yourself, who can you be? Okay? All right. Elements of good delivery on page 104. Those elements include your body, gestures, eye contact, facial expressions, breathing, and vocal characteristics. Okay? Many times I will say to you, well, I need to connect, like I'm a connecting person, okay? And I need to connect with my students. We do that through body, face, gestures, okay? Sometimes I get students that just, we can go 15 weeks and they just stay there and stare at me for 15 weeks, okay? But it is so important. I know that, you know, it's a long class, but when I see you smile or nod your head, I know that you're in it, you're there, okay? Your body communicates a great deal about you to others. The first thing your audience will notice about you is your overall appearance. Do you look like a pig? I hope not, okay? Especially in your final, because you will lose credibility. You absolutely lose credibility if you look sloppy, if your posture is bad, okay? All right, a speaker's attire can enhance or detract from the effectiveness of the presentation. Somewhat formal dress can often increase the speaker's credibility. That is why on final night, there are no jeans, okay? And you will see that you feel much more powerful, or you feel much more professional when you dress up, okay? Even I know for myself, the days that I teach class that I wear jeans, I don't feel as professional as I do when I wear like dress pants, okay? It really does something to your psyche. All right. Grooming should also be an important consideration when preparing for your talk. A hot shower and just a splash of cologne or perfume will not only enhance your appearance, but also make you feel better about yourself, okay? Once you're up at the podium, your audience will check out your overall posture. And they will. And you know that we did that. We did the kind of sizing things up the first night, right? You did. I got big hair, red lips, right? Okay. Before you begin speaking, pause at least 3 seconds to enter your weight evenly on your feet. Some people still, in even final night, you will, feel very nervous. Okay. And then your feet should not be spread more than shoulders width. A little less would be fine. Keep your back straight. Square your shoulders to the audience. Don't aim a shoulder at the audience. Square them, okay? Because this closes you off. I'm sure you've all heard this closes you out. Any of my social psychology majors, that closes you off, okay? All right, jumping down. Body movement has been shown to attract the attention of an audience. You don't need to do cartwheels across the stage or backflips off the podium, but there are some body movements that are helpful in sustaining audience interest and emphasize more important points, okay? You might also find it useful to walk a few steps. Some people get less nervous if they use their space. Many of my students in Worcester, because we have the opportunity to use the auditorium at the college, some use the entire stage to do their final, and some have to stay at the podium to hold on tight, okay? But just naturalness. And remember that you feel more nervous than you actually look to the audience, okay? This is called walking into your points. The walking movement recaptures the audience's attention and visually reinforces the transition from one point to another. So your steps can kind of go along with the transitions, okay? If you want to get more intimate with your audience, walk a few steps in their direction. Don't get in their face, but you can walk a little bit closer to them. You know, like Ellen DeGeneres does that, like at the Emmys, where she have any, I mean, some of, you've had to have seen clips where she's like in the audience and she's right with people, okay? A final word on body movement. Too much movement, unrelated movement, or repetitious movement can distract an audience. Use your body movement to direct attention and emphasize points during your talk, and use it carefully. You guys will see tonight what you want to change about your body movement. Like I've used it as an example in the past. I had a student, and he did not know he was doing this. He would kick his legs up, just like this, every time he was giving a speech. And he had really long legs, and he had no idea that he was doing this until he watched the video. It was probably like a nervous thing. So you don't want to be doing that. That would be the type of movement that would be very distracting to your audience. Okay. All right. Gestures. Your gestures consist of your hand and arm movements during your speech. Use gestures to emphasize and express important ideas and emotions. I'm a big hand talker. I do use my hands maybe even a little bit too much, but a good balance. It relaxes you. It makes you look more relaxed, okay? The first one, so there are two excellent practice techniques you can use to loosen up your hands. The first one we'll call this silent hula technique. Just as a Hawaiian hula dancer does, you can practice communicating passages or sections of your speech without words, using only your hands and arms to express the thoughts and feelings. Okay? The second technique for loosening up your hands and arms is called catching rein. So if some of you are still having an issue, to me you don't look nervous up here, but you just, this is all you do. This is catching rein. Catching rein, okay? All right, eye contact. We talked about this in the very beginning. Eye contact in some cultures can be considered rude. Is there anybody in here from a different culture that eye contact isn't good? What about, no? Okay, because we know in the US, if you do not make eye contact with people, you are sneaky, you're a thief, okay? And eye contact is just as important, especially when you're giving a speech. You guys know that. You do not have to stare every single person in their eye, okay? Because that can be intimidating for you and for them. But you can use eye contact around the room. You can try, if you needed to, that whole theory of picturing people naked. I can't do that, okay? But if you look just on the top of people's heads, I'm just looking on the top of everybody's head now. And it looks like that I still have eye contact with you, okay? Or use the corners of the room. Jared, you probably have some good techniques. Sometimes I think an environment like this is harder because it's more intimate.
Oh, it definitely is.
You know, where a big audience, kind of black out there and you can't really see anything.
Well, one thing I tend to try to look through the audience, because with acting it's kind of different, because like you don't want to.
Yeah.
You want to know that they're there so you don't mess up, but you don't want to like forget your lines. But like, actually, what helps me is weird is because I can't see them as well with my glasses. So like when I play characters with my glasses, it's easier because they're just shapes. I can't make eye contact with them, but they'll think I'm making eye contact with them because I'm looking right at them.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that doesn't work if you don't have glasses. But
So there's a
Yeah.
lot of tricks that you can do.
Oh yeah.
If the whole eye contact thing freaked you out, okay? And then it says at the bottom, it says third, eye contact is the best way to receive feedback from the audience. Do they look bored? Are they interested? Are they confused? Finally, eye contact suggests honesty. A person won't look you in the eye if he or she is lying. Seems to be true in public speaking as well, okay? Facial expressions. As a public speaker, your facial expressions are important in communication. Although many of the audience members in the back rows may not be able to see your expression in detail, all of the listeners will develop a sense of how you're feeling and who you are by your facial cues. Facial expressions and habits are one of the most difficult movements to change or modify, primarily because you are so unaware of them. I am a very emotional person, happy, sad, mad, so I can just imagine what my facial expressions are all the time. Even when I say I'm not mad or something's, your facial expressions can tell you a great deal. Like when some of you don't come in with your homework and stuff or come to class, you can probably tell that I get upset with you. Okay? All right? Jumping down on page 107, it says, here's one specific suggestion for your facial expressions while I give your speech. Smile. Smiling, smile, smile. It takes less effort to smile than it does to frown. And that is true. And as the book says, fake it. Fake it if you have to. Fake it, okay? Fake it for your audience if you have to, all right? At the bottom it says, fake it, yes, fake it, life's too short. All right, breathing. Breathing. Take a breath. Breathing can be very difficult, especially when you first start to speak, because you just want to hurry up and read that paper and get it out and get away from the podium and be done with it, right? Did any of you feel that way, like the first few speeches that you were doing? Take a few breaths. Inhale, exhale. Just pause after your sentences, okay? You just need to take it easy, all right? In the middle it says, when you're speaking before an audience, you have a tendency to hold your breath, okay? And I do it still sometimes. I've watched, actually today, when I had another class to videotape it, I saw it a little bit. You guys may do it when I start videotaping you tonight. You see in just about every beginning speaker, the rapid rate of speech, the run-on sentences, punctuated occasionally by huge gulps of air. Remember, even when you're under extreme stress, your body knows enough not to kill itself. So breathe. First begin breathing in deep, even breaths about a minute or two before you're called to speak. Don't hyperventilate. The same thing goes, I always tell my kids when they get hurt. I can remember a few years ago reading, and it always said, don't hold your breath like when you get hurt, because it hurts worse. And I always say, just breathe. And have you ever done that? And like the pain kind of eases. Same thing for speaking. Just breathe. And the sting of having to get up here will ease. Okay? Vocal characteristics. There are 6 aspects of your voice worth mentioning here. Vocal characteristics are made up of rate, volume, pitch, inflection, enunciation, and vocal variety. Your speaking rate is the speed at which you talk, okay? You'll notice that tonight. Or if we end up having to watch them the next cut, you'll notice that. If you speak too quickly, you make it difficult for your audience to understand you. In addition, an extremely rapid rate of speech can annoy or irritate the audience. So slow down. Your volume. I am a very loud woman, okay? So I may not have a problem projecting my voice, but some of you may, okay? So you don't have to yell, but you just have to kick it up a notch, okay? Even today we were in my daughter's conference for school, and my husband, I started, because I was talking to the teacher and he's like, down. All right. Pitch refers to the highness or lowness of your voice. It can be thought of as a placement of your voice on a musical scale. Each individual has a natural pitch level. The movement of the pitch, either upward or downward from the natural pitch level, is known as inflection. Inflection is used to give emphasis, to certain words or phrases, which I do quite often, I think. A speaker who doesn't vary their pitch is monotone. I don't want to hear monotone is boring. We are here for 3 hours and you are tired after a long day of work. Don't be monotone, okay? And then it says, it goes, the meaning of the sentence, jumping down, the meaning of the sentence with each different reading. Inflection is a powerful verbal tool in speech emphasis, and it is one of the most effective cures for monotone delivery. As I said, I would love to see you again, okay? That is boring. I would love to see you again, okay? You need to use your inflection. Enunciation consists of articulation and pronunciation. Hop in the middle of page 109. Articulation is defined as the ability to pronounce the letters of a word correctly, whereas pronunciation is the ability to pronounce the entire word correctly. Jumping down, I was laughing at this. Sound substitution happens often in speaking. And we are Massachusetts people, so this happens more probably here than anywhere else, okay? Because many of us say butter instead of butter, that instead of that. For me, it's car instead of car, or even car. All right, so you have to be careful of that when speaking. Slurring is usually caused by a rapid rate of speech or running together of words. We often say, I'll catch you a hot dog, instead of I will get you a hot dog. Be aware of slurring words when you speak, again, because you lose credibility, especially if you're in a business situation. Because remember, I'm here to prepare you for the future. In a business situation, or like you give talks all the time in your situation, Jackie, you're a business owner, okay? So you have to be careful of that. Greg needs to be careful of that when he's delivering pizza. Okay.
I just go right in the house.
You're okay. Don't miss
Start
it.
talking to you.
All right, the final so it says the final cause of articulation problems is the omission of sounds. We sometimes say flowing instead of flowing, singing instead of singing, and I do that too. I'm definitely guilty of that. And then it says don't get lazy when you pronounce your words. The final characteristic of your voice is vocal variety. Vocal variety refers to the variance or range you give to the rate, volume, and pitch of your speech. You'll recall that inflection is the variance or change in pitch. This gives your voice vocal variety. All right, variance in your volume and rate also plays an important role in keeping your speech interesting and lively. Okay, because you always want to be interesting and lively. All right. Speech practice. Can you imagine they're telling you to practice? No one is born with public speaking skills, no matter what you think. The outstanding speakers are those individuals who invest countless hours of practice time improving their skills. Now, we all know, because I was in college once too, that you all don't go home each week and practice your speeches before you get here. I realize that, okay? I get it. And that is why, another reason, you do nearly 20 speeches in my classroom, okay? Then on page 110, it just says, complete your outline before you practice, choose a private practice place, practice in a standing position. That is kind of an important one, because you better be practicing for your final. Don't sit, okay? Loosen up before you begin practicing, practice in small increments. What we will do is the week before the final, we will break off into, we'll probably have to use this area out here, we'll break off into your groups so that you can do run-throughs of your final the week before, okay? Time your speeches, practice the entire speech 5 times. Don't practice in front of a mirror, okay? And then it says to evaluate your speech. And then you are not responsible to know using social media to increase delivery effectiveness, because I don't think you will be advertising. You can read that on your own, but you're not responsible for this section for the final, okay? So the sections that you will want to take note of for the test are section 7.1 about the characteristics of good delivery, 7.2 the elements of good delivery, 7.3 specifically speech practice, 7.5 listening between speeches, and then again back to a lot from 7.2 the elements of good delivery, and that is for chapter 7.
7.1, 7.2, 7.3, and 7.5.
Yep.